Hi, welcome back. This is our discussion, our little series of videos that we're talking about goals and how we create a goal, how we visualize a goal, how we start to take action in its direction, and how we start to attract our goal towards us. So, today I'm starting with a school run story. So, Mark, my husband, loves houses, loves architecture, really appreciates design, and the school is at the top of a hill of a really gorgeous road. It's like tree lined. The houses are all very different, but they're all really nice. And every day when we walk up, he's pointing out things he likes, things he appreciates, things he would change. And then I walked up myself on the other day, Monday, I think, Tuesday, and wasn't with Mark. And some friends of ours walked out of one of the houses, and I said hello, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't know you'd moved to this house." And it turns out she'd moved into one of these gorgeous houses on the road. So I was busy chatting with her, saying hi to the kids, and then the next day I said to Mark was with me, and I said, "Oh, our friends they've moved onto this road," and he said, "Oh, which house is it? Which house is it?" And I was like, "I don't know." And he's like, "What? How can you not know? What do you mean you don't know? You saw them walking out of the house. Which house is it?" And I'm like, "I don't know. It's a kind of halfway up. I'll probably be able to point it out." So why was he so cross with me, and why didn't I know? Well, this is what I'm going to get into today. I didn't notice it because that's not my thing. That is Mark's thing. So he notices, he focuses, and he's programmed to look at houses, look at streets, look at design, because that's been his thing, his passion, his interest. It was his kind of something he did as a business for a while. That's not my thing. It's his thing. So he notices, I don't. So let me just get into this a little bit deeper with you. So if I ask you a couple of questions, and so you've started your day, on your way to work, if you've got a commute, how many red cars did you see? Can you tell me roughly how many red cars you saw on your way to work? Can you tell me what colour the tie was that the TV presenter was wearing on the morning news show that you watched? Or maybe you can tell me when you were in the coffee shop what the person in front of you was wearing or what they ordered. If you're on a train this morning, can you tell me how many men were on that train? Can you tell me how many women were on that train? See, these questions, you could have noticed all of these things or none of these things. They're all available. Number of men, colour, different cars. I could ask you on your regular gorgeous walk, wherever that is, how many trees do you see? Is it 5? Is it 10? What kind of trees are there? The point I'm making is there's so many things we can notice. It's all available. We can notice pavement, the cracks on the pavement, the trees, the cars, the people, what the people are wearing, what the people are saying. But we can't physically take that all in, can we? We can't physically notice everything. So how does our brain decide then? If we can't physically notice everything, and we know we don't all notice the same things, like Mark's focus is houses and he's got a passion, he notices those things. I don't. I was clearly more interested in talking to my friend and checking in with the kids, and actually being pretty jealous that she is now a stone's throw from the school and she doesn't have to get in her car and she can wake up with 5 minutes to go and drop the kids. That was my focus. How does your brain decide what is important to you and tell you what to notice? Because there is a part of your brain that does that. It's called the reticular activating system, the RAS. That's its job. But where does it get its instructions from? See, we're asking ourselves, how does our brain decide what's important? And what's important is what we need to notice. And there's 3 things I want to talk about. One is it will notice, first of all, the things that are necessary to keep us physically safe. So if we're walking across a street, it will tune in to the cars coming one way, the cars coming another way, maybe the sound of a horn beeping, but it will zone out a dog barking, people walking across the street the other way. It'll zone everything else out because its job is to keep you safe. And so you only notice getting across the street. You only notice what's important to get you safely across the street. So that's natural. No, we can kind of get that. We say, look, our brain's job is to keep us safe, and when we need to, we will be focused on what's necessary to keep us safe, unless our head's in the clouds. The second thing it does to decide what's important is it matches our habitual priorities. So Mark's habitual priority is, I love looking at houses and I love admiring houses. That's a habitual priority for him. And he'll continue to do that. He'll always do that. So it's matching whatever is going on in our autopilot. So over the years, you've programmed ideas into your mind about kind of everything, who you are, how the world works, your point of view on things. Those are all programmed in. And half of what we think every day is the same as yesterday, actually over half. So if then we're instructing our brain by the things we focus on and the things we think about, if most of it's autopilot, most of it's the same as yesterday, then pretty much our life's going to stay the same, because we're going to notice things that match what we've always thought about. We're going to notice things that match that habitual set of thought patterns. Some experts, I'm saying over 50%, some experts say that actually we move through most of our life on complete autopilot. We're not really consciously thinking. Some experts say it's actually 96% of what we think and do comes from an automatic pilot, comes from ideas in our mind that are from the past, not based on what we are trying to achieve. We think we're in control, but we're not necessarily. But the third way then that our brain knows what's important is by what we choose to focus on. The problem is most people don't choose their focus. Most people allow whatever is happening in social media, whatever is happening in the news, or their habitual ideas, all of that just kind of rolls around in the brain. And then the brain it's not really getting new instructions to say something new is important. So it'll just continue to live the same way, day after day, noticing the same things, experiencing the same things. And we know this is true because if you then decide to say, choose to direct your attention consciously somewhere, it's the new car syndrome. So let's say you're going to go and buy a new car and it's a black Golf. So you go to the showroom, you test drive a Golf and you get a brochure and you start looking at the specs for black Golfs. You get a finance package. You go home, maybe you look on the internet and you look at images of black Golfs, and then you see black Golfs on the road, and then you buy the car. And what do you notice everywhere? Suddenly there's 50% more black Golfs on the road. But that's not the case, is it? You've instructed your mind because you're consciously focusing on, I need a new car and this is the car I'm going for. Or maybe I've bought the car and now I'm really focused on it for a few weeks until the novelty wears off. So you're greying out, you're filtering out most of the other vehicles on the road, and because your brain is going, black Golfs are important. That's what happens with your goal. See, if we don't set a goal or we don't have a vision, then we leave it to chance. If we set a goal and we have a vision and we use our imagination, we are sending an instruction to our brain to say, do you know what, this is now important. So let's say your goal is, open a coffee shop. So you think about opening a coffee shop, you maybe do a bit of research on the internet. All of a sudden, this is where you start to notice what looks like magic and it looks like a coincidence, but you are seeing, you'll get an email offering you a franchise business, or you'll get an email that's a blog post about somebody who set up a coffee shop on the other side of the world, or you'll get a conversation going with somebody who used to work in a coffee shop or knows a barista, or their wife grinds coffee for a business. These things will happen. So if you imagine, you get, how many emails do you get a day? If you get 200 emails a day, probably like me, you delete 50% of them because you don't need to read them. And 50% of those that you delete will be things that you don't think are important. So you don't even tune in. You probably don't even know the subject of those emails. But if you can imagine you said, actually, I've got this goal or this idea about opening a coffee shop, and the headline of one of the emails is a franchise business, or start your own coffee shop, or loans for new businesses, startup loans, startup grants, anything like that, your brain is going to go, notice that, that's important, it matches what you said you care about, and you'll notice it. Was that email there anyway? Yeah, the email would have been there anyway, you just filtered it out. And you have to filter it out because you can't notice everything. Does that make sense? So what's going to happen is you think that it's coincidence and it's magic. There is a lot of magic to this, in my opinion, that I'm going to talk to you about. But to start with, if you think your brain has a lot to do, It has to keep your heart beating, it has to keep your blood circulating, it has to keep your body at the perfect temperature. And it does all of that without you having to even think. Then it has to keep you safe, so it filters out anything that you don't need in a situation where you need safety. It's going to filter out anything that's non-important. So then you move through your days and it's going to say, well, what's important now? I've got you safe, your blood's pumping round your body, your temperature's in the right place. What now? Well, unless you tell me otherwise, think of it like a computer program, unless you tell me otherwise, this brain, this mind of ours is going to just continue to notice the same things, think the same thoughts, do the same things, experience the same results. This is powerful. This is powerful. And you become a magnet to little events and circumstances, conversations, phone calls. You'll get that it's the phone call you get out of the blue, that kind of from the friend who you were just thinking about, or it's the conversation you have in the coffee shop with the person who just so happens to know somebody who can help you do the thing you want, or just has the information you need. So think about that. I want to also talk to you about what you're also going to then start to do is move in the direction of your goal, and how that sets up a powerful magnetic force that is kind of, then we get into this realm of we're attracting. We're noticing and we're taking action, and then we're attracting. So enjoy, and I will speak to you next time. Take care. Have a good day.